Hi readers, welcome to Novels with Nat. It is October TBR time. Alright, so we are heading into October. October is my number one month of the year for reading. I love reading in October. I just feel like leading up to Halloween, I just want all of the creepy, spooky, horror, paranormal. I want to read all of it. And so I really actually am thinking about my October TBR throughout the entire year. I'm sort of like collecting what I want to read over that month. So I have got a stack of about 5 physical books that I want to read this month, as well as there are 5 books that I'm going to be picking up from my library. Let's talk about my TBR for the next month. I love TBR videos. I love planning my reading. It just gives me a guide. I feel like when you have like shelves of books, it can be overwhelming to just kind of, when you want a book to read, just stare at this massive shelf and decide what you're going to pick up. I don't always stick to them completely, but they just give me a bit of a plan, a bit of a guideline. So that's what we are going to do today. I have chosen 10 books. I usually set my TBR at 10. Some months I read less, some months I read a lot more. It just depends, but 10 seems to be the number that I like to choose every month. So let's go through some of these books. So I had to go and grab this one. I forgot to grab it. This one I took out from my local library. It is Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. I have been meaning to read this book for so long. Honestly, when it came out, I wasn't super drawn to the premise of it. I think it's basically about 2 people who decide to commit murders for each other in an attempt to get away with it. So that premise is interesting, but I guess just personally I wasn't super drawn to it. But I've heard so many people say amazing things about this book, and now I'm kind of getting the FOMO and I want to find out what the hype is about. So I ended up picking it up from my local library. I think I'm going to start off October reading this just because it doesn't scream like October reading vibe to me. It is a thriller, it is a bit spooky, but I think I'm going to start the month off with this one. So I'm excited to get into it. So that is the first book. So since we started off with a library book, let's talk about the rest of the books that I'm going to be checking out for my local library. I've got some on hold that are ready to be picked up, as well as some of them that are publishing in this month that I'm pretty high on the waitlist, so I should get them in October. So the first one is What Happens in the Dark by Kia Abdullah. This author is one that I really enjoy. I think she's a bit of an underrated author. I don't hear a lot of people talking about her books, but I really enjoy all of her books. She writes sort of courtroom thrillers. They also tend to sometimes take on a bit of a domestic angle to them, and I think that's what this one is. I don't remember too much about the premise, but I have read her entire backlist, and actually I lied. I've read her entire backlist aside from one book, which I have on my physical TBR. But this is her newest release that came out a few months ago, and it just came in at the library for me. So that's also a way that I choose what I'm going to read that month, is whatever holds at the library tend to trickle in. That's what I put on my TBR, and this one just happened to come in at the beginning of the month, so this is on my TBR for the month, and I'm very excited about it. The next up we have, of course, the new Frida McFadden book, which is The Intruder. This one I think I'm going to do on audio. I don't tend to really read the physical copies of a lot of Frida McFadden books. I don't know, they're just kind of so easy and so readable and simple that I tend to just throw the audio on while I'm doing other things. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this one, and I'm going to get it through Libby, through my local library. Again, Frida McFadden's not one of my favorite authors. I can't describe it very well, but I never really like her books, but I enjoy them, if that makes sense. They're enjoyable while you're reading them, but once they are done, you kind of never think about them again, and you wouldn't really recommend them to other people, but they're just a good time in the moment, and so I do read them as they come out. I haven't really loved any of her books aside from the Housemaid series, specifically the first and the second. I really enjoyed those, and I am very excited for the movie to be coming out in a few months. I'm definitely going to check it out. So we'll see how that is. But yeah, so I'm going to read The Intruder this month. Okay, this next one is interesting. It is a either novella or short story. I'm not exactly sure which one. But it is by Liv Constantine, and it seems to be part of the Last Mrs. Parrish sort of series of books. And now there's this one, which is called The Making of Jackson Parrish. So I read The Last Mrs. Parrish, and it is one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite thriller books of all time for sure. I absolutely loved it. Then I read the follow-up to that book, which I don't think I loved as much, but I still really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. And The Last Miss Parish, of course, is 5 stars. Uh, so I've also read two other books by Liv Constantine, both of which I have not enjoyed. So I'm starting to get the sense that like these authors really had a really good success with The Last Miss Parish, and now they're kind of releasing books to sort of maybe cash in on that success, which is fine. Like I'm going to read everything that they put out relating to this story, so I don't have any complaints. But that's sort of what it feels like a bit of a cash grab. I think it was also sort of the same with The Housemaid. Like Frida McFadden had such great success with The Housemaid, so then kind of started releasing more and more books, which is how it goes. And I'm not mad about it. So I'm definitely going to be picking this one up. It should be a quick read. I think it might be just on audio, so I'll be listening to this one. But I'm excited for it. And then the last book I'm going to be reading from my library this month is The Wishing Game. This one I have been wanting to read for a very long time, but I just don't tend to gravitate necessarily towards this genre. I think it's sort of like a literary fiction, magical realism type of story. And it's sort of about competition with authors, is the general gist of what I understand, or something to do with books. I really don't know exactly, but I've been sort of drawn to it for a while, and so I decided this is the month to read it. It just kind of gives that like fall vibe to me. I don't know why. So I decided to throw it on my TBR for this month, and I'm going to be checking it out from my local library. If you've read this one, let me know in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. Number one, was it good? Did you enjoy it? And number two, would you consider it to be like a good read for the fall time, or is it better for a different season? All right, moving along to the physical books that I have to read this month. These are all ones that came off of my physical TBR. Like I said, I sort of throughout the entire year am looking for books and collecting books that I feel like would be good for October specifically. And so a lot of these books I got from free little libraries. And when I saw them at the time, I was like, yep, grabbing it for my October TBR, and now is the time to read them. So this one I got from a free little library, and I hadn't heard of it until I picked it up. It is episode 13, but the cover just looks spooky. Like it looks great for this time of year. And then when I read the synopsis, I was like, yeah, this sounds good. So I'll read it kind of briefly. It says episode 13 brings a terrifying twist to the found footage genre when a reality TV show's crew find themselves trapped in a nightmare of their own creation. Fade to Black is the newest hit ghost hunting reality TV show. Led by husband and wife team Matt and Charlie, it features a dedicated crew of ghost hunting experts. Episode 13 takes them to every ghost hunter's holy grail, the Paranormal Research Foundation. This crumbling mansion holds secrets and clues about bizarre experiments that took place there in the 1970s. It's also undoubtedly haunted, and Matt hopes to use scientific techniques and high-tech gear to prove it. But as the house begins to slowly reveal itself to the crew, proof of an afterlife might not be everything Matt dreamed of. So this just seems like it has everything that I love. Seems like it's got that sort of paranormal element, but it's also got a reality TV show, film crew. It's got the haunted house type of trope. It's got the scientific experiments. I love that trope. So I am very excited for this one. I think this might be my read for the end of the month, to read it on like the week of Halloween. I think I might save it for then because I'm very excited and I think it will be the perfect vibe. All right, this next one was also a free little library find, and it is House by Christina Lauren. This one seems like a haunted house, similar sort of thing, haunted house story, paranormal. I'm going to be honest, this one I think is young adult, which I don't tend to love, but I feel like I will give it a shot, and if I don't seem to be enjoying it from the beginning, I will just drop it back off into a free little library. But I felt like this is the month to try it if I'm going to. So I'm going to give this one a shot. I think this might be the same Christina Lauren that writes romance books. I think it's the same author. So that's interesting. I didn't know that they wrote in other genres, but I will be trying The House this month at some point. All right, the last three books on my TBR are all horror. I like to have a bit of a mix of horror, thrillers, all of that. I'll also mention that I do like to aim to read one nonfiction a month at least, at the minimum, but I'm going to give myself a pass in October just because there are so many books that I want to read this month. I don't see myself getting to nonfiction books this month. So we will resume in November. But the first horror book I've got is Monstrulio. I have seen a few people talk about this book and really enjoy it, and so I ended up picking up a copy. All I know about this one is I believe it's about a mother whose son passes away, and then she ends up carving out a piece of his lung, um, which she is then keeping alive, and this thing then develops into Monstrulio. I hope I've understood that correctly. That's all I remember from the reading vlogs that I watched of other people reading it. Um, it sounds kind of scary, so I hope it's not too scary. I like horror, but I don't like anything gory. So if this starts to go in the gory direction, I don't know if I'll be able to continue it. But I really want some horror this month, and this is one of the horror books that I have on my TBR. So now's the time to read it. All right, and then of course we have to read a book from the king of horror, and that's of course Stephen King. So I think I'm going to finally get around to The Shining, which I think is the perfect book from Stephen King to read this month. Haunted hotel type of story, if I understand correctly. I am slowly working my way through the Stephen King books that I have. I don't read them super often. Every 2 or 3 months I'll pick one up, but I think it's about time. I'm due for one, so I will be reading The Shining this month. I've also never seen the movie ever, so I'm excited to read it and then watch the movie. Stephen King can be hit or miss for me. I've given some of his books 5 stars, and then I've given some 3 stars, so they are either like all-time favorites or they're just fine. So I'm curious to see where this one will land for me. It's a bit on the longer side. Like, it doesn't seem like a long book just based on the print, like the edition that I have, but I checked the other day and it actually is like somewhere in the range of 660 pages. So this must be some pretty thin paper. So we'll see if I get to this one or get through all of it this month, but I'm going to try. All right, next up we have a book by Grady Hendrix. He's one of my favorite horror authors. He writes sort of like campy horror, which I absolutely love. How to Sell a Haunted House, obsessed. I loved it. I could see why some people wouldn't enjoy it because it is very campy. But I just had the best time reading that book. It was so good. So I'm very excited to check this one out. This one is just so cool inside. That's so pretty. The inside, I just really liked it. I also really like the cover. Now that I'm thinking about it, this one might also be a really good one to read the week of Halloween. So I think I'm going to do this one as well as episode 13. I think those two will be my Halloween week reads. So I'm very excited. I don't really know much about this. I think it's a Southern book club that starts slaying vampires, is my inference based on the title. But it sounds really good. I love a campy horror. I love a paranormal sort of weird, creepy horror. So this one should be really good. Also, if you've read this one, let me know in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. I know Grady Hendrix can be a bit divisive. People either love him or hate him. So let me know your thoughts. All right, so this is my final TBR for the month of October. I'm very excited about it. Hopefully I get through all of these books. That would be the goal. I do tend to read a lot in the fall time, so maybe I'll surpass this. Who knows? I will try. So that is it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what are some of your top books on your TBR for the month of October. I would love to know what you are prioritizing, what you're looking forward to reading this month. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, like the video. That would be super cool. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in another one very soon. Bye!